Good morning. Dave Kellogg here. We are at the Proctor's Theater. We are recording number 37 of the H.O.M.E.S Podcast. I have a great pleasure of opening up today because I have brought, or invited, and he brought himself, Padric Moore, who's an attorney, a brokerage owner, and overall fun guy to talk to. And we're going to have him expound on some of his favorite topics today. Yeah. But of course, I'm going to let the other hosts here. Great to see you, by the way. It's been a long time.
Likewise.
Mm-hmm. Please introduce yourselves, and let's just jump right into it.
Yeah, so hey guys, I am Khadijah Johnson. I am a local real estate agent with Hunt Real Estate, and as usual, happy to be here.
Nice. And as always, I'm Jerry, also a real estate agent. And I know we're on a time crunch, so I just want to get right into it. This is the most interesting man in the Capital Region right in front of me.
Oh, absolutely.
Because when it comes to evictions, everyone asks that question. When can I evict someone? When it's going bad? What's the process? How long does it take? So I wanted to open it up starting with, can you walk us through the eviction process? Do you specifically focus in Albany?
Sure. Okay. Well, let's start it this way. So T. Padric Moore. You forgot my first initial there. Wow. But I do go by Padric, which is my middle name. I'm an attorney in the Capital Region. So my office is based out of Saratoga County. So I'm in Clifton Park currently. I've been practicing law for approximately 20 years. Don't need to know the exact number of years and months there, but it's been a minute since I graduated. I graduated over in Albany Law School. My practice has focused on real estate, and so half of my business is engaging in real estate transactions, purchasing and selling residential, commercial, the whole nine yards. And the other half of my business does deal with the landlord tenant law. And so evictions does become an unfortunate necessary part of the landlord tenant representation in protecting property interest and property rights of those who engage in the investments in the Capital Region of the state of New York. Draw it back to your question. What was the question? What's the eviction process? Because that is a pretty big question, right? So I think your question first was, do I focus just on the city of Albany? And the answer to that question is no. I do evictions anywhere in the Capital Region, the state of New York. They're all governed by the same statute. So we have the same process, the same rules, the same law that is universally applied to each jurisdiction. Wherever the property is situated, wherever the property is located, that is the court that you have to make the appearance to ask a court for relief in returning that property to its rightful owner, possession back to the property owner or the landlord or property management team if it's under property management. I do a lot of evictions in Albany. So there is a presence certainly there in the city of Albany itself, but we do travel to other jurisdictions. We are in the cities of Troy, the Tri-City, Troy, Schenectady, Albany, and all the local courts. So I was in Guilderland last night, Rotterdam and Niskayuna. Anywhere there's property, there is a court to protect property rights.
Look at that. So you eat, sleep, and breathe this.
That's one way of putting it, yes.
Translation.
There are certainly a lot of hours that are dedicated towards protection of property rights.
Gotcha. So I guess I want to follow up. Sorry, my voice is kind of raspy, but I want to say, what are the most common reasons landlords file evictions in the Capital Region?
Most common reason is non-payment of rent, and so and those fall into several different categories. But generally speaking, unfortunately, we are in a society right now in a situation where rent is increasing almost on a daily basis, and rent is getting to that point where it is becoming a major expense for everybody's livelihood. And sometimes those expenses exceed our income or ability to pay other things. And so typically the most common eviction is what's known as the non-payment proceeding, which is initiated under 711 of the Real Property and Proceedings Law of the state of New York. It starts with a notice to the tenant that says you've fallen behind on rent. You got a certain amount of time to catch up on what you owe. Otherwise, we're going to go to court to ask the court to make a determination on how much time you get to pay that or when we're going to return the property back to the property owner.
So, question there. because you said something, either you pay back what you owe or we're going to move forward. So I actually did my first eviction earlier this year. It was terrifying. Like, thank you. Like, I definitely grew up in the investment world, like being a landlord. Like, I definitely like leveled up. So my question to you, because I get a different answer every single time I speak to someone. So I'm curious on what your answer is going to be.
Promise to give you the right one.
I love that. So my question to you is, once the eviction has already started, you're already in the process of doing the eviction, and let's say the tenant is 6 months behind, and they out of nowhere come back and they pay back the 6 months. So now they're on time, right?
Yep.
Can a landlord still move forward with the eviction?
Yes and no. Primarily, the answer is no. So if you are in the non-payment proceeding, the legislature has made it clear, New York state law has made it clear that a tenant will always have a right of redemption, provided that the tenant catches up on that which is due at the time that it is due. The tenant may restore the tenancy, keep the leasehold, and continue to reside in their home.
Okay. Thank
Now,
you.
where does the answer become? Yes.
The second part. The second part. I know what the salad is. Tell me about the dressing. How about the other half of that question? Yeah.
Well, there's a sense in America, right, that everybody can do business with whom they want to do business with, right? So at some point we have to recognize that the landlord-tenant relationship is just that. It is a business transaction between a property owner and somebody who needs a place to live, right? And that is a business transaction. And so if you get into a situation where you have a tenant who is not able to pay the rent, or is delinquent in that rent on a regular basis, or is giving a hard time about paying that rent, at some point from a business perspective, from a personal moral perspective, whatever the case may be, a landlord and a property owner always has the right to say, I no longer want to do business with you. I'm going to choose to terminate that tenancy with you. And that opens up a whole different can of worms, which is what is the second primary reason that you do for an eviction, and it's called what's known as a holdover proceeding. So at some point a term for a tenancy is ended, whether it's by the nature of the contract, hey, I rented the property to you for 1 year, or it's for cause. You've engaged in objectionable conduct, and that objectionable conduct could be you haven't been paying your rent, you haven't been paying it on time, we've been chasing you for this every single month, and yes, you came in at the last minute and you caught yourself up, but we're just not interested in that stress. We have a business to run, we have lives to work on, and we're not interested in continuing this relationship. And so you can engage in a termination of tenancy in most jurisdictions, but for those cases where there is the good cause law, which adds different elements to how you do that holdover proceeding.
Okay.
I like that answer.
Me too.
Yeah.
It's a thorough answer. It's
Yeah.
almost like he does this a lot. now, if I were a landlord and I went and I found a 3-page lease for free on Google, or let's throw something on AskJeeves.com. You're welcome, Ask Jeeves. I referenced you. Is that the best lease, or do you have something that maybe you recommend that you have written yourself, and every time you come up against a good challenge for yourself, which I assume are few and far between, do you modify that lease and you give that out to your clients?
Wow, I almost feel like you're setting me up there.
Oh man,
That's a great question.
what? No way. Hey, tell us about the lease.
So what I will say is that any transaction, any relationship can be governed by the written word, and that a contract is a good thing to have, and to understand the rights and responsibilities of both sides and what the expectations are relative to that relationship. A good lease agreement is no exception, and especially now in 2025, the lease could be not more important than it is today. And I have made a professional decision to spend a lot of time and energy into crafting a lease agreement, which I think strikes a chord with the balance between the tenant's right to a home and a property owner's rights to possession of that property in certain contract terms. And certainly a lease that navigates and complies with a lot of the intricacies of the law, getting into rent receipts, getting into the warranty of habitability, getting into when rent is supposed to be paid, how we go about asking for repairs. And so what started as a 4-page endeavor has turned into a 20-plus page lease agreement. And I do offer that to any and all of my clients. All you need to do is ask for the lease, and we got a form that you can fill out the first page, and you have a form lease.
Wow.
The first time I got his lease, I thought it was a Bible. I was like, holy smokes. I'm still on page 2 reading it. But prior to Patrick, I had a 2-page lease, and I saw Patrick's lease. It was loaded.
Now you should know the secret is I've made it fine text.
Yes. There are 3 hidden paragraphs per page. Those are exclamation points. That's a whole extra subset.
No, what I have found though is in experience, it's better to have it in writing. And so you accommodate every circumstance, every situation. How do we handle this? If there is a conflict between a landlord and tenant, you can refer to the contract to say, in this dispute, in this event, this is the term that's going to control. And ultimately, we're not going to be caught in a disadvantage where somebody can abuse the law for an unfair advantage.
Yeah.
I loved it. So I think that people buy properties to make an investment, and when they do, they're dreaming of buying that home. They assume that things go right, and it is nice to know that if things go wrong, there are remedies to it. I don't think there's ever going to be a happy eviction where everyone just comes out excited, but things change, and it's not necessarily. It can be preventable, it can be curable, and sometimes it can't be, but it's not a property owner, an investor, a client of ours. If we do great in our market, they're going to be one of our 3s, right? Mm-hmm. It's never happy, but you don't give up nights and weekends or an extra money to put down a down payment to lose it because someone else had bad luck. We all have bad luck, and we all have to figure out how to get past it. So it is great to know that there are remedies out there to protect those who choose to invest.
Yeah.
So
20 pages.
Second thought, exactly. Like you said, young investors or any new investor getting into the business assume that they're just going to make money and it's going to flow the way it should flow. But this is why Patrick's here.
That's right.
If it doesn't go right, you have a means to get out sometimes.
Yeah.
So Patrick, do you? I know there's a lot of challenges that come up. I've heard several of your stories, and I know I've gotten to see you work, and it's been relatively always educational. Sometimes like even fun.
Entertaining one.
Yeah. Do you find that to be because the rules change more with evictions, or do they change more with like closing documentation? Like which one in your professional field? Like because your main part of your business is 2 parts, right? Is the real estate closing and negotiation transactions, and then your eviction. Which side changes more?
From what perspective?
From a successful closing or successful eviction process. Is there major changes between the two? Because you mentioned the good cause eviction process.
Where is the field of law changing the most?
Yeah.
Evictions for sure.
Evictions. Okay.
Yeah. So we saw an overhaul of the landlord tenant law in 2019. And pre-COVID, and then we dealt with COVID, and now we're still trying to figure out what rules and laws we want to abide by as we navigate the conflicts between landlords and tenants.
Patrick, how have recent tenant protection laws, like the Good Cause Law, in New York impacted landlords' ability to evict?
It certainly slowed down the process, and I think that's the biggest factor. So it costs more and it takes longer to do an eviction. And ultimately, you still will be successful, especially if you're there on the merits. And whether it's a non-payment or you're looking to evict a term tenant or to evict a objectionable tenant, ultimately you will succeed. But time has become the biggest factor in the business in the industry.
So regardless if it's a month-to-month or a year lease,
that won't make a difference.
It won't make a difference.
That's what I think the scariest part for me, definitely through my eviction process, is the damages that may occur while waiting for the eviction process to actually like take place and happen, right? Because now you have a tenant that's holding that space, and it's like, okay, are they punching holes in the wall? Like, what is the apartment going to look like once they actually leave? Because it takes so long to get them out, that it's like, geez, how pissed are they?
and that certainly is a legitimate concern, and one of the comments that was made to me recently is that, there is still this feeling out there from a tenant advocacy perspective, and to some courts, some judges that come and say, well, the property owners and the landlords still have the most leverage because you're trying to take away somebody's home. And at the time, I didn't have a good rebuttal to that. I mean, other than my typical stuff. But I thought about it some, and I said, to me, there is certainly leverage that a tenant who is unlawfully occupying your property has against that property owner. And generally speaking, it is the issue of time, right? So every day is costing everybody money.
Yep.
It's jeopardizing and it's displacing other people who could be housed and homed in your property, right? And it's something that probably should be talked about. Is one of the biggest leverages that delinquent tenants have is they're often judgment proof. And so they are given a platform, they are given a forum to speak their mind in a court of law and put their positions forward, which they should be able to. There should be due process, there should be that forum in which to speak, but there's almost as if there's no ramifications for that. So you speak about, well, what happens if the tenant occupies the property for 3 months without paying rent? $1,000 a month for rent, that's a $3,000 loss, plus your eviction attorney, plus your court costs, plus everything in there. And then if they do damage to the property, you could be at the tens of thousands, depending on the extent of that damage, right? And theoretically, the law provides you with a recourse. You can bring that tenant back to court and sue them for property damage, and you can get a judgment against them. But if they're judgment proof, you can't get blood from a stone. Right. It gives them significant leverage, as if they have nothing to lose when they advocate for their positions in a court of law.
Well said. Thank you.
Right.
Yeah.
I know we have 3 minutes, and I don't want to hold you up past the 3. But what would you say? What advice do you have for new landlords in the capital region to avoid eviction altogether? Like, what would you kind of help them prepare?
To avoid evictions?
Yeah.
Don't rent. Things come up, though. I want to hear his answer.
Well,
but
I'll start with the general advice that should be given to every property purchaser, every investor, which is you're not getting in it just to make money. You are providing a service to our community. You are housing people. And while you own the property, you are providing a home to somebody in need of that home. And you should treat it like a job. You shouldn't treat it just as a paycheck. You shouldn't treat it just as an investment or just as money coming in the door. There is an expectation that you are providing a home to people, and you should treat the job like that. To avoid the eviction process, I think that communication is important. Paperwork. Lawyers love paperwork. I think paperwork is good. I think that having a good lease is a good idea. But I always encourage a landlord to talk to the tenant. And sometimes it's just a misunderstanding, a miscommunication. Well, why didn't the landlord replace my doorbell? And maybe there's a really good reason why he didn't replace the doorbell, right? But having that communication, addressing the tenant's concerns, understanding that it's their home, can avoid a lot of conflict, and understanding that they can be unreasonable to a certain extent, and you still have to act with reason and still have to be responsible as that property owner in providing them that home. If you go in with that mentality, you will have less evictions.
Love it.
Well said.
Yeah.
Everything's well said.
Yeah, that was fantastic.
On the spot.
Exactly. So, 1 minute to spare. Craziest story.
Can't end it on that.
Well said. Tell me more.
I want to share them. Any questions you guys have?
So you do both real estate closings and evictions and probably other things in between. What's the quickest, easiest way to get a hold of you?
I like it.
The bat signal. Email. Yep. And so generally speaking, though, I don't have time to even look at emails during the day, but you send me an email and I get up at 5 o'clock in the morning. I go through my emails. I will respond to you, put you on the list, put you in the queue, and get to you.
That's why you got to answer when he calls you.
Exactly.
It's one of the rules. When a lawyer calls, you answer the phone.
Exactly. Thank you for your time.
Thank
Patrick.
you.
Hey, thanks for having me.
it.
Appreciate
Yes.
it. This was
We're gonna need a
casual
part
and
2.
fun.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, we're gonna.
An unrushed part 2.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Sounds like a plan.
When you're not so busy. When's that? Can you tell me?
Yes, I do have
When he
time.
retires.
I do have time in 2029.
Okay.
It'll be a Thursday. You guys need to adjust.
Well, thanks, guys. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
All right.